Bonjour mes amis, this is the Prince of Macedon doing a commentary video for Napoleon Total War multiplayer. I command the French, and my opponent is Conqueror Sun Tzu in command of the Russians. And yes, that's the same Conqueror Sun Tzu I played in my 7th battle. He won that first battle, and I won the second battle. I was commanding the French, and my opponent was commanding the Ottomans. But unfortunately, my opponent disconnected during that battle, so I wasn't able to save the result. But luckily, I was able to save our third match, and this is it. In all of its glory. Well, in all of its edited glory. But let's go look at my French army first. I have my Fusiliers, my Cuirassiers, my Lancers, my Voltigeurs. I even brought my Young Guard and my Old Guard. That's the first time I have these two elite units sharing the same battlefield. And you can see right here, I brought back my General Staff unit. And I told you guys I wouldn't bring him back anymore to these kinds of battles, but you know, I believe in second chances, and it's really not my general's fault that he shops at Kmart. Let's go look at Conqueror Sun Tzu's Russian army. He has 3 units of Russian Jaeger, then he has 1 unit of the elite 17th Jaeger Regiment, and also he has 7 units of Musketeers, 1 unit of the elite Moscow Musketeers, 2 squadrons of Cossack Cav, and 2 squadrons of Cuirassiers. Then he has 2 teams of the 10-pounder Unicorn Artillery, and then he has a historical general, that is Count von Bennigsen. That is a famous German general who fought for the Russians. Alright, so I started off this battle incorrectly. I started going around the mountain instead of up the mountain, and because of that, my opponent was able to get on top of this mountain before I was.
Our men are running, sir!
Okay, anyways, in order to prevent my opponent from taking complete command of this mountain, I had to kamikaze all my horses into his incoming infantry. And by doing so, I was able to impede the movement of his advance, and that would have given me a few more seconds to set up my infantry opposite him and on fairly equal footing on this Austrian Pinnacle. But I was able to save some of my horses, so it wasn't a complete fiasco. In any case, I'm still struggling to bring up the rest of my army. I've got my general back there and my skirmishers. But my opponent made a mistake too. You see that on my far left? He brought his Jaegers a little too far down my left flank. So when I saw how far his Jaeger were from the rest of his infantry, I decided to crash into them with my remaining horse units. And right there are my Lancers, and they're going to give his guys to lance. But my opponent was seeing the mistake he made, and he has sent up his Cossack Cav in order to countercharge my Lancers.
Our men are running,
but
sir.
I'm rushing over some of my elite units over there, and these are actually my Old Guard. And typically in a Napoleon battle, he wouldn't activate these guys until he absolutely needed to. So I was kind of upset that I had to bring out the Old Guard so early. In any case, we're having a shootout now on top of this mountain. So I guess the first danger was my left flank here. But as I said, I brought out my Old Guard in order to plug this weakness in my line. And the Old Guard are going to thrash the enemy's horse units. So I was kind of happy, but my Old Guard are completely exhausted already because of all that running I did at the very beginning, which you didn't see, and I'm glad no one saw that because it was kind of embarrassing. Alright, so this is the action in my center here. You can see I'm bringing up my skirmishers behind my Fusiliers, and the reason why my skirmishers are getting here so late is because I moved my Fusiliers before I moved anything else at the beginning of the rush to the top, and plus my skirmishers were already going the wrong way, so that kind of sucked. But finally they're in position, and now we can have a proper battle. And over towards the center of my line, you can see I'm engaging the Moscow Musketeers, and I'm pretty glad that his Moscow Musketeers are already engaged because those are his 1 elite infantry unit. So if I take them out now, then I won't have to worry about it too much later. Alright, let's go to the action on my left flank here. And this is where a lot of the most serious action is going to take place, right here. My opponent launched his Cuirassiers into my Old Guard, but when I saw them coming, okay, anyway, yeah, when I saw his Cuirassier coming, I put my Old Guard into squares in order to repel that horse assault. And over on the right flank, my opponent is applying more pressure here. You can see him bringing up his horse units. And I got my skirmishers in front of my Fusiliers, and I'm hoping my guys can get some shots off on those horsemen before they get there and drive them away. But here comes his charge. almost in slow motion it looks like. But yeah, I've got my skirmishers holding their ground, and right behind I've got my fusiliers picking off those horsemen. So you can see I'm going to be successful in preventing the enemy from busting my right flank open. And that was pretty much my game plan for this particular battle, and that was to hold my right and left flank, and then overpower my enemy in the center. And it seems to be working right now. You can see I drove out a lot of his troops in the center. Alright, let's swing back to the troublesome left flank here. My opponent is pouring more troops into my left flank, and because my old guard were depleted, I decided to countercharge his musketeers.
Our men are running, sir.
Yeah. Okay. And you can see because my old guard are depleted, they're not going to be able to hold back that fresh unit of Russian musketeers. But I did bring back some fusiliers just in case my old guard were going to bite it, and I pretty much expected them to bite it. So I'm going to move up my fusiliers here, and they were kind of in a bad position to begin with. You can see they're not lined up for battle yet. So I'm going to lose some men as I set up for a shootout. But out of nowhere, here comes his cuirassier charging into my fusilier. So I immediately get my guys into square, and I'm going to worry about those musketeers later after I drive out his horses. And when I saw how many troops he was rushing into my left flank, I decided to swing my general towards my left flank in order to inspire the troops in that sphere of influence. But yep, as expected, his cuirassier couldn't hack it against my squared fusilier. Alright, and here are this is my center here. This is where my main battle line is, and we're having a shootout with his main battle line. And at some point, my opponent lost his general, and I don't think I'm the one who did it. I think he killed his own general. Yeah, if you'll notice, look where his general died. It's right next to his unicorns, and that is completely out of range of any of my troops. But in any case, back to the darn left flank here. My opponent decided to charge with his musketeers into my fusiliers, and my general was doing nothing else, so I decided to countercharge his musketeers from the flank. And since I always lose my general anyway, I wasn't too scared of losing this guy. But oh, look at that! He just stabbed my dude. Not good. Okay, so you'll notice that he brought up another line of musketeers.
Our men are running,
So
sir.
I decided to save my general for just a few more minutes. It wasn't time to die just yet. But yeah, my opponent's center is pretty much crushed right now. Those are my opponent's unicorns in the forest. And I don't think they're very effective in this battle, because from this angle, he would be shooting his own troops and not mine, because we're shooting each other at such close range and using our bayonets at close range that it's going to be more dangerous to his own men than dangerous to me. Okay, so what to talk about? Alright, this is my left flank. I routed that unit of musketeers, but you're going to see another unit of Russian musketeers on their way. And my guy just schooled that dude on the ground, and then he in turn had a heart attack. I guess that's karma. Alright, but yeah, look at that set of Russian troops in the forest. It really felt like that forest right there was pregnant with Russian troops, and every minute more Russian troops were born. So my goal was basically to keep shooting at that forest until those Russian troops stopped popping out. Okay, back to my center here. This is where a lot of the exchange of musket fire was happening. So my guys are low on ammunition. Yeah, okay. Since my fusiliers are out of ammunition, I'm gonna have them charge. And after all, they didn't come here to sing Christmas songs. That would be a different war. So my guys took some cannon fire from his unicorns, but now you can see that his unicorns have stopped to reload. So now his musketeers are on their own. Granted, his musketeers do outnumber my fusiliers, but my guys are coming down from the hill, so that'll give them a slight bigger advantage than his slight numerical advantage. And you can see my guys just gained some experience just then, and quite an experience stabbing people to death in the snow. Alright, look at those unicorns. They are back to doing their thing, and I'm not sure what they're shooting at right now, but I don't think they're shooting at my troops. Alright, so after I sent my guys charging, I wasn't looking at this part of the battlefield anymore, so my guys are going to stand still, and they're going to get shot to death by those musketeers. Okay, for the sake of time, I have to condense the rest of this battle. In the middle of my lines, my opponent charged up this hill, and my guys were able to hold their ground. And over on my left flank, I had my young guard protect my left flank because my left flank crumbled earlier. And these Fusiliers right here, they are fighting behind enemy lines.
Our men are running, sir.
And those are the guys who destroyed his unicorns, but my guys were in turn destroyed by those Russian musketeers. And those musketeers are going to charge up that hill towards his cannons, and they're going to duke it out with my Fusiliers. So we're going to fight by his abandoned unicorn pieces. And you can see my glorious tricolor waving in the back there. And we're going to succeed in wiping out those Russian musketeers. And check this piece of action out. My opponent's musketeers over here stopped routing, so they were coming back to attack my guys from the rear. But what my opponent didn't see was that my cuirassiers also stopped routing, so I was chasing his guys from behind as well, and my guys came out on top. And that's pretty much the end of this battle here. And I'm glad my opponent didn't disconnect this time, so that I could show you our third battle. Hope you all enjoyed.